that is called the It's Cold in Here. We have dances every day of the week. Glad to have them. By the way, huge show today. Huge show. Ben Shapiro's on and Cassie J is on. So we've got the fantastic, unbelievably pretty, very eloquent, charming Cassie J.
And then you got me.
Ben Shapiro. So, producing with me in video studio always is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared. Me at S Crowder. With your thoughts, your comments, your photoshops. I fulfill my legal obligations, starting conclusions. We good?
We're good. First show back since on Thursday.
First live stream back. Yeah, here on the YouTube. For people who are watching Mug Club members, we also do this on YouTube live stream. Also, you can comment in the YouTube section. Everyone on the team now is commenting a little more in the YouTube comment section because we got a lot of flack for saying, well, why didn't you comment? I was like, well, because you called me a Jew fag. But I understand that it still merits a response.
It does. And also, check the bell.
Yes.
Check the damn bell.
Check the bell if you want to receive notifications. Hey, I forgot. At G. Morgan Jr. is back with us. How are you today,
baby.
sir?
I'm good.
What's the wine of the day?
The wine of the day is Upchurch from Red Mountain.
Sounds like it's for a homo. So, listen, we have a lot of news to get to. We're going to talk about net neutrality. We're going to talk about Donald Trump Jr. For those who missed. Yeah, I know. I am so tired of that story.
Oh, good Lord.
And what else are we going to be talking about?
Talking about...
I don't know. We'll talk about this. Thanks to President Donald Trump.
Thanks, Jared.
The Afghan girl robotics team has finally been granted entry into the United States. So remember that. That one is thanks to Donald Trump. Afghan, they engineer robots. When asked and polled as to who expressed concern with national security issues, responded yes was everybody.
Everybody.
This is a plus or minus everyone.
Everyone, 100%.
On that polling average. But most were relieved when they actually saw the Afghan robot prototype. See, this is why they don't let you drive.
Johnny 5 is alive.
You even knew the reference, Johnny 5.
I do.
Well, just let it ride,
I'm on
Gerald.
80s movies.
Gerald.
Someone might be going, hey, what is it, what is it, what is it? And you're like, Johnny 5! And
I'm there
you
to
ruined
help.
it for
there
me.
to help. It's not a quiz.
Anyway, these are engineers, robotic engineers. These are the best and brightest that Afghanistan has to offer. These ladies, engineers, are engineering robots. Next up on their list, engineering a functioning clitoris. Hopefully that's somewhere in the cards.
Go, robot.
No. All right, so listen. BART, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transportation System, we talked about this yesterday. They're withholding surveillance video of crimes being committed to avoid stereotypes. Now, actually, Deborah Allen, who's a member of the board at BART, is going to be on the show on Monday for Mug Club members.
Nice.
So, listen. I respect her for coming in because we have been pretty merciless about this quote from her. She said, to release these videos would create a high level of racially insensitive commentary toward the district. In addition, it would create a racial bias in the riders against minorities on the trains. Because sometimes video surveillance footage is a little bit racist or sexist or, God forbid, transphobic. This is video surveillance footage.
So it actually showed what happened.
Yes. Yeah. It's not commentary.
Are we, at some point, what are we making people, putting them in more danger?
Yeah.
By not letting them know what happened.
By not releasing it. It's like you're saying, listen, we do not want to release this mysterious videotape because it could make some people out there with inherent biases do some really bad things against Mexicans who are not committing crimes in these tapes. I just don't. At what point do we? This is news. These are crimes. Awesome. At what point do we stop sanitizing the news? So here to get to the bottom of what actually happened on the BART system is our very own on-the-field reporter. Reporter, can you hear me out there? Can you hear me?
Yes, Stephen. There was a gruesome incident that involved some persons along with some other persons at a locale at the time of the day.
Okay, well, there's who, at what time? Give us something more to go on,
yes,
reporter.
Of course. We are not happy about it at all. And back to you, Stephen.
No, you got to be some more information than that, reporter.
Of course.
Okay, yeah, there's got to be something.
The incident occurred at a balmy 82 degrees when it happened. And reporting for Loud Crowder, I'm a reporter. And up next, sports.
We don't cover sports.
Not at all.
Soccer. There we go.
Well, what can you expect? I hope he finds what he's looking for. Chelsea Clinton is also being sued for $150,000 for... Okay. This is not fake. There are some stories we're going to talk about today that you may think this is true. She's being sued for plagiarizing ideas in her it's a children's book. She's being sued for her children's literature. Did you read this story, Gerald?
did.
I know you've been off on a balmy 4th of July
82.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, 82.
I did read this story. It's silly.
And the air went out in our
book.
studio today. That's why we're all glistening.
No joke.
So
Just
she's being
had to be
sued
that.
for blatant plagiarism and also trademark infringement, which actually looking back, we have worked with trademark infringement issues. We've had to deal with those
Sure.
quite a few times.
It happens from time to time.
And looking back, they probably should have seen this coming with
Yeah,
Chelsea Clinton.
not such a
There are
surprise
few
in
books. She did the Cat and the Pussy Hat was one where I felt as though it was borderline. And then she got a lot of flack for By Curious George and the Adventure of Self-Discovery.
Oh, it almost seems obvious.
Yeah,
When you see it
it's a
that
trail
way.
of raisins. Move on next slide. And then, obviously, just because it's so popular, she probably will lose the suit from hashtag Not All Brown Bears, hashtag Not All Brown Bears. There's nothing to see. So these are what's happening?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Jared,
Dean, hey.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man.
Hey,
It's, it's
wait, one
Thursday.
second. I just need a quick question. What
up?
position can I put you down for in football?
Football.
Yeah, what do you play? I assume probably receiver or.
No, I don't. I mean, we're talking. I don't really. I shouldn't play football usually. Are you play football? I do that.
Yeah, no. Dude, did I play football? What?
I know. I know. Dean, I
baby.
can't.
Professional.
Dean, I've seen
Listen,
your reel.
so-
I'm gonna get killed.
it's charity. No, Jared, it's charity. You'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
No big deal.
Dean,
Well, should I just say receiver?
don't weigh much,
Defensive
man.
back, running back. You're fast.
I am fast, but I've seen your
Okay.
reel, man.
No, it'll be you. Well, I mean, there's some players, but you'll be fine. You'll
It's
totally
celebrity.
be fine.
We'll be okay. It's
a
tackle.
charity game. Well, it's tackle, but it's not like it's hard tackle.
Okay, who else is
I mean-
who else is gonna be there?
What is it? Me, Terry Crews will be there. Maybe The Rock, because he played as well in college.
No.
Okay, I don't want him calling
sorry.
in anymore.
No.
I'm sorry. I don't.
But
I told him it's we're
He's a
back
nice
on
guy.
schedule.
Maybe we can do something with him.
We're not off
I'm
break
surprised he wasn't
anymore.
calling Gerald. Let's just
Thursday.
move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
Waterboy. Waterboy
So,
Jared.
Washington Post had this article out about how dating an abortion provider can be cool.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Just
Because
like,
it can be rad, kids.
Just like a cool hat.
Yeah.
A
I
really
thought
cool
this
hat.
was going a different direction than it ended up going, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine. So they write in the article, an unexpected side effect of the 2016 election is that many people have become vocal about their support for reproductive rights. Suddenly, dating an abortion provider can be a cool way to proclaim one's liberal street cred, not an Onion article. Dating an abortionist is a way to prove your liberal street cred. It's one step away from having a black friend. Hey, my broad killed a baby. We cool?
we go.
Go on and grab yourself some forceps. She done it.
She did it.
So we do, though, in this, on this show, we always try to look at from the opposition's point of view. We
Sure.
want to be fair, to at least try, to understand where they're coming from, is to at least be capable of rebutting their argument. And we actually saw
Difficult here.
there are quite a few positives here.
Gerald.
Yeah, we do a pros and
Hypothetical.
cons list. Yeah,
difficult.
it's like you almost didn't
Back
read the show breakdown. It's like you just showed up from drinking wine. SimplifiedWine.com,
Well,
one
that's
hell of a
kinda
plug. So we do a pros and cons list on a regular basis just to figure out. We have the whiteboard. We did a pros list, namely for this. We just wanted to do a pros list.
Yep.
And there are actually a few perks to dating an abortionist. So number one, he's got a stable job. You know that because he works for the government, so stable income. More importantly, it's going to be good money because he's a doctor. He'll always do the vacuuming, and then of course there's all the dead fetal tissue you can eat. So there are perks when you lay out the list.
Yeah. When you look at it that way, it's not so bad.
Well, and you can do it with anything. You can do pros with anything. So I see how they did this with the Washington Post. We did the same thing. We just kept going with it. Take Ted Bundy. There are a lot of reasons to date Ted Bundy. So like he was a good-looking guy. He had a high IQ, as far as we know. And if you are on campus, you'll never have to do the walk of shame because you'll be killed by him. So you don't have to worry about the bed sheet.
Yeah, that helps. That really does help that.
So I get it, Washington Post. We're feeling you. There's no blind spot here.
Nope.
We get it.
I've been educated. Thank you. That was necessary.
Speaking of educating, we have to get to our guests pretty soon. We have Ben Shapiro, then Cassie J. Net neutrality is back in the news. Trending everywhere. I covered this years ago when I was at South by Southwest when people were being really alarmists about it. And it's a confusing issue for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I had questions about this. Like, what?
Okay.
I almost, it sounds good, net neutrality, right? The
That's
title's good.
pro-choice
And then
sounds good.
Exactly. I started reading through it. Help me understand this a little bit better.
Yeah.
Pros and cons.
Well, okay, so it is confusing because right now we effectively have net neutrality, and a lot of people don't want to have net neutrality. Now, liberals, the far left, they are, and go back and watch the video, Google net neutrality, oh no, or YouTube that. I did it when I was at South by Southwest and actually spoke with people who were net neutrality activists, and they couldn't answer the questions. And then you had some rebuttal videos, people saying, oh, he doesn't really know. No, I've studied it quite a bit, but it is so complicated, it requires a simplification for most people to understand it. Okay, so liberals are really mad about the FCC votes to overturn net neutrality. Why? They're saying that it's a class issue. Okay, so here's what they claim, that net neutrality is what prevents big evil corporations from hijacking the internet. Okay, so for example, and it's not entirely without merit. Let's say the merger happens. I think it's AT&T and Turner have been trying to merge for a while. So AT&T is one of the biggest internet service providers. And what they could do is they could say, well, listen, we're the same company. We're going to give the right of way. People will be able to get CNN content, Samantha Bee content.
Oh, dear God.
Content. Yeah, because there's not enough bandwidth for that. It's going like hotcakes. So they could say, well, we're going to give it the right of way. We're going to throttle everyone else. Like, for example, us, Louder with Crowder, or a competing network like Fox News. It's not without its merit. But here's the thing. They say this is going to save the internet from big evil corporations. The truth is Google and Facebook are huge supporters of net neutrality.
Yeah.
You know, Facebook, who, by the way, sent out an investigative team that likely helped get a Pakistani man killed by their government for blaspheming. So Facebook is not the kind of place where they want a free and open internet. Neither is Google. If you look at now, the reason for this is because net neutrality only affects ISPs. It doesn't affect search engines or sites that provide media.
Not to mention, if it was a problem, they just shell out the cash, pay their way around it
Well,
anyways.
and that's exactly another issue here. It's the small ISPs who would be hurt the most. And we have this, I think, up from CenturyLink, where they've done studies, and smaller, primarily rural ISPs are impacted the worst because financing and infrastructure dries up in rural areas. So they're the ones who would be serving a lot of rural areas, and they're not able to do it. Now, why? It would be really expensive, like you said. Anytime you introduce legislation that's going to make things more expensive, the big guys can outlast it.
Yeah.
So with net neutrality, that's a good example. Let's look at the big ISPs versus the small ISPs. How could this raise costs? Let's say you're mailing a letter. Okay, you're mailing a letter, and we're shipping out Mug Club. It's expensive for us to ship out because it's girthy, heavy. LottoWithCrowder.com/MugClub, hand-etched. It's a heavy mug. It's almost like a little mini bowling ball. So treat this like net neutrality. You sending your letter, your postcard, can only arrive at the exact same time with the exact same speed and at the same cost as this nearly a pound mug.
Gotcha.
That's net neutrality. No.
So that screws everybody by raising the prices.
You couldn't. FedEx can't say, well, there's an upcharge if you're sending a mug as opposed to a letter. So net neutrality is no. Everything has to travel at the same speed, at the same cost. Now, it's not without concern. I understand it, but here's what it comes down to. It comes down to this. This is the ism. People say, I'm not an ideologue. Well, it does matter. Your worldview here. Are you more scared of a multitude of internet companies screwing everyone with no accountability more than you are in giving a 100% monopoly to the federal government? So let's say AT&T does do this with Turner.
Yeah.
Right? And it could happen with us. People are going to find out about that really quickly.
Yeah.
Now, companies have tried to do this. I think it was Netflix, Comcast. There were a couple of mergers that were going to happen. And a duopoly is terrible. Remember, it was just AT&T and Verizon?
Yeah.
Cell phone plans have gotten amazing the last 3 years. Remember unlimited? We said we're never going to have unlimited again.
Yeah. They're always looking for a niche to fight with the other person on.
But now they're actually for legit. You have T-Mobile, you have Sprint.
Yeah.
They're not as good, but they're a lot better than they used to be, so prices go down.
So much better.
So, my argument is it doesn't mean that AT&T couldn't throttle people. But then people go to Verizon. People go to somewhere else. Now, when the federal government dips their hand in the cookie jar, it's impossible to get them out, and then they can play favorites, right? They can pick winners and losers.
And almost impossible to reverse.
No,
there's no reversing once you go back.
And that's a big thing. When you have huge sweeping government legislation, look at healthcare, for example. We just saw our first U.S. city to collapse under Obamacare. We've talked about premiums. We've talked about deductibles. The pre-existing conditions, the failure with that, right? We thought that was going to work. Unintended consequences there. A great example, banks. This is something, too, where people try and compare it with net neutrality. Big evil banks. I saw that movie, The Big Short. They throw around this term predatory lending. Okay, let's talk about banks. The hyper-regulation that led to the market. People say deregulation. That's idiotic. Predatory lending. You're a business owner, Gerald.
Yes, I am.
I'm a business owner.
And a predator.
Isn't there some kind of incentive to make a profit?
Yes.
Yes, because that's
especially
actually...
when the federal government is pushing me to make sure everyone can get a loan.
Well, no, see, you're skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead. The point is, they hate business owners because we want to make a profit. But then predatory lending. This is the idea that you're being a predator and lending to people who could never pay it back. My business is making sure they can pay it back.
Yep. Yeah.
So here's the thing. This, again, big banks, the big market crash, was created by over-regulation, and then they found a way around it. It was basically, you have to give a loan to someone who cannot put money down, who has a horrible, has a single-digit credit score rating, a room temperature credit score rating, and no ability to pay you back. Now, no bank in the world would do that unless they were forced to, or it was backed by the government. If they default on this loan, we're going to pay it. And then if you saw The Big Short, big banks found a way around this where they would wrap these up in a package, these subprime loans. You've heard that term, subprime predatory lending. I'm trying to simplify it here. They'd wrap it up with other loans that were a little bit more secure, and it would get a credit rate. It would get a rating of being a secure investment. Yeah. And that caused the market crash. By the way, after the market crash, big old bank bailouts. That's another thing. When the government steps in, big old bank bailouts, guess what? The mom and pop bank can never grow. You can never grow if you're competing with Bank of America or Chase Bank, where they go, well, I guess we really screwed the pooch. We should be going bankrupt. More money, please. And Barack Obama says, sure, because it's the right thing to do. Anytime does that answer?
No, it does. It's basically a government-controlled solution or a market-controlled solution.
Right.
And a market-controlled is getting rid of net neutrality.
Yes, exactly.
I'm all for the market-controlled solution.
Yes, and again, there isn't a blind spot there. I'm not saying that's without its flaws.
Right.
Just like with YouTube. YouTube is a huge platform here, right? Mm-hmm. And then when YouTube started targeting conservatives, when they started demonetizing channels, we found out about it. That's the saga of Tranny Bane and Jihadi Bond, grand finale coming up in 2 weeks. So we actually decided to make people aware of it, and what happened? It's starting to correct itself.
And you start to find other avenues, too. Mug Club being a great one.
Yes,
right?
Mug Club. LotofCredit.com/Mug Club.
Go around that.
But by the way, if we mail it, we should be able to mail it at the same cost of letters. So
as long as I can mail
favor
my
net
wine
neutrality when it helps me.
We're a little selfish here.
Post office isn't making money anyway. Come on, what's my extra 30?
And I get it. I understand. Listen, I understand concerns with all the content we're uploading here. You know, someone could say that, hey, what if someone has an internet provider that doesn't agree with what you have to say?
Sure.
We could be throttled. I'm not saying that everything is perfect and it's all rosy and corporations are not without their issues. I'm just talking about, global government monopoly. I mean, you have no idea what could happen with this show when we do the bit with midgets going out there and they're riding on the donkeys. They're let out panels, and you have a strip pole that's been lubed. Oil is corrosive to the metal. They're mounting each other bodies with a damn pitchfork.
I hate it. Ben Shapiro, come right up.
1, 2, 2, P-O-G.
Colton, are you watching that Louder with Crowder again? You know I am, Josephine. Damn it, why even gotta ask that? I just wanted to know, gee. Sounds to me like when you ask a question you already know the answer to. That's some passive-aggressive bullshit. It's 9 p.m. Eastern. Of course I'm watching Louder with Crowder. You know I do, woman. Every day. Every damn day. All right already. I just wanted to figure out what you were doing so I knew when I could use the TV. Damn it, there it is, Josephine. You just made me miss the damn punchline. I can't even have any time to myself. All I want is 45 minutes every damn day to be informed on the issues of the day while watching it in a package that keeps me entertained, but you have to ruin it because you want to watch your wife swap. Calm down. Why you gotta be so mean? Mean? Don't I work all day for you, woman? I provide, don't I? I bought you that damn couch. You didn't buy that. You found it. Whatever happened to the fucking thought that counts? You know what? Thanks to the app, I can watch Louder with Crowder wherever I want. I'm gonna go be educating my truck.
That's like with your wife. Well, you and Chef, how was your day? I don't want to talk about it. Please tell me what I'm supposed to say. Exactly. Help. Yes. Please help. That's feminism movement. Well, you're supposed to hire more women. Okay. Well,
Josephine, what the f*** you do to the router?
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up my lads, come cheer up my lads. It's better to have...
All right, Pogo, obviously, always playing Pogo.
Always good stuff.
Every week, love Pogo. Regular guest. Another guy's a regular guest, crowd favorite. Not as attractive as Cassie J, who'll be coming after him. But we do like him a lot. You can watch his Ben Shapiro show over there at dailywire.com. Ben Shapiro, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I wish I could say we're happier with you. So this week it was brought to our attention that you started offering something that your very own kind of mug club going on, mug promotion, right? Not gay, Jared?
No, it's a tumbler. It's a tumbler. It's a totally different thing.
Okay.
You think we waited for 2 years at this company without deference to the mug club?
Yeah,
come on.
Well, okay. You know what? But it is hard for us to compete. We're a much smaller operation here at Louder with Crowder.
Sure.
So what bothered me was the escalation. We obviously this week we created a promo. Every mug, Louder with Crowder Mug Club, came with a free Socialism is for Figs shirt, which we thought would help, but then you had to one-up us with the promotional offer of every Ben Shapiro's tumbler right now ships free, filled to the brim with Jew gold, which we thought was a little bit tough to compete with, Ben. And I will say this, your advertising is pandering, bordering on offensive at this point. So pardon the seas with the and then this is just unnecessary. I thought that was really in poor taste.
Yeah, well, we try to leverage whatever we have at our disposal. You have your brawn and low IQ, and we have gold and splitting the Red Sea.
Yes, this is true. Okay, so Ben, listen, we were going to talk about this earlier in the show. I am exhausted in discussing it at all this week because we've said this. With Donald Trump Jr., is the worst kind of story for this show. Our rule is it's either got to be informative, we're breaking something new, it's got to be entertaining to some extent, or we have to somehow be insightful. If it's something everyone's talking about, what is it that we're providing that's new? Otherwise, there's no value added. With Donald Trump Jr., there's no way to do any of that. It just seems like everybody's a moron on this.
See, I feel like you can make it sort of entertaining. Like you have that schmuck Rob Goldstone who looks like Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder, and he's like just this fat load who's supposed to be the go-between. And then you have Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle, who's doing a meeting with Fredo Corleone. So it's really, there's some entertainment value there.
Yeah.
I mean, on my show, I played the clip of Joe Bluth going, "I've made a huge mistake."
It is bordering on cartoonish. You expect Dudley Do-Right to write in, "I'll save you, Donald Jr. He's in trouble. I must save him." It is so
exactly
bad.
Right. I mean, it is the most incompetently done conspiracy with the Russians ever. I mean, if it is these things, it's another one of these stupid stories where everybody gets it wrong, right? So on the one hand, you have people on the right going, "It's a big nothing. It's a nothing burger. Nothing happened here." Okay, in the emails it says, "We're going to send a Russian government lawyer to come talk to you as part of Russia's support for Mr. Trump." And Trump Jr.'s like, "Sounds awesome."
Why does he sound like a Nerf commercial from the 90s? It's Nerf or nothing!
He basically says that, right? He's like, "I love it. I love it." He's like, okay, so Donald Jr., not good at this. And then he drags in Paul Manafort, who's like the Kremlin's man on the inside. Yeah. And he drags in Jared Kushner, who, Jared Kushner, the guy who's in charge of the opioid crisis, the guy who's in charge of peace in the Middle East, and the guy who dresses like the front of the J. Crew catalog. That guy, they bring him into this meeting with Natasha, who doesn't have any information about Hillary Clinton, it turns out. She just wants to talk about adopting Russian babies because we need more Russian babies adopted, so we have to get rid of sanctions on Russia. It's a little bit humorous. And then Donald Trump's defense of this whole thing is, well, everybody would have done it. And it's like, well, not everybody. I mean, some people would have done it probably, but not everybody. And I like when he says he didn't know about it. It's like, well, maybe you didn't know about it, or maybe you did, and it wouldn't have mattered to you anyway because you just said that anyone would have done it. So that's also a possibility. But
by the way, that's a great disservice to J.
On
Crew.
one side,
That's a great disservice to J. Crew. They make fantastic products. I would compare much more to the specialty clothing item in the Hammacher Schlemmer catalog. It's my driving moccasins. He's that guy.
Yeah, he gets his helicopter and his clothing.
Yes, exactly.
He has his little mini submarine that he rides around in Jared Kushner. I think that's right. So on the one hand, you've got people saying it's a nothing burger. It's not a nothing burger. It's a something burger. Okay, and then on the other side, you have the Democrats going, treason. We got to trot Donald Trump Jr. over to an actual noose and hang him from the highest tree because he had a conversation about adoption with some crazy Russian lady after speaking with Les Grossman.
Exactly.
It's like, no, that's not treason. This is all stupid. Plus, you have no evidence that any actual collusion happened. So at best, what you have here is attempted collusion, but no information comes out from the meeting, apparently. And then here's my big question that I've been thinking about a lot this week. I don't even know what the collusion would look like. So supposedly, let's assume the worst of what Democrats believe. Let's assume that it was the Russian government and they were using WikiLeaks to hack the DNC. Why would they need to coordinate that with Trump? What sort of coordination is happening there? Do they need to give him a heads up on, like, we're releasing the next batch of WikiLeaks? It wasn't like during the campaign that was a consistent pattern where Trump would go, you know what's coming tomorrow? Something special.
Yeah.
And then the next day, WikiLeaks dropped something. It was WikiLeaks dropped something, then people like you and me went through the hundreds of pages of WikiLeaks looking for the relevant material. It wasn't even like Trump had, like the cache drops, and then the next thing you know, Trump's campaign is on top of it. Within an hour, they've got a full analysis of all the WikiLeaks. So I don't even see how
I think that's an important point.
Works.
That's always what I said. I said, listen, if you were going to be hacking, if you were going to try and affect an election, right? Let's say, like Paul Manafort. I even said that with Sally Cohen. I'm like, listen, if you want to talk about Paul Manafort's unsavory ties, that's legitimate, but then you take that and you expand it into something that's completely untrue, and that's why you lose and no one trusts you. But the saving grace as to why I don't believe Donald Trump has taken part in collusion with the Russians is because they're not dumb. And I don't think Donald Trump is dumb, but I do think he has a big mouth and he's incapable of keeping a secret. The last person they would tell is Donald Trump. They would tell everyone but him. They would tell Spicer before Trump.
I agree. This has actually been my working theory for a while, is that let's say every single person around Trump knew, they're never going to tell him, because the next thing you know, he's going to be on TV, he's going to be, I know something you don't know. It's like, you know that's what's coming next. So that would, yeah, again, I totally agree with you on this. I've always said that if there is anything dirty that happened here, it came probably through Flynn or through Manafort. Right. Like back in 2012, I was approached by some guy who wanted me to write pieces about Ukraine. He pitched me one piece about Ukraine and Hillary Clinton. It was a pretty good pitch, so I wrote it up. And then later he came to me and he was like, by the way, I work with Paul Manafort. Would you like to do business with him? And I was like, well, I don't know anything about Manafort. He's like, well, he knows people.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, let's not do that. So, like, everybody knew that Manafort was who Manafort was for years, but so if there's anything dirty, it's there. But I really don't think that it's this routine where Trump was sitting at the top of the tree and he and Putin were coordinating everything. I think it's crap.
No, well, you did make the point, and I've always agreed with this, that I hate it when they hang their employees out to dry and give them marching orders, and it's not necessarily true. To Donald Jr.'s credit, releasing the emails, he was trying to mitigate it, I think, pretty quickly, saying, listen, there's nothing here. Good for him. But here's my issue. It either stems from ignorance or arrogance, because if you know that the FBI is looking into anything that has to do with Russia ties, you certainly know that the media is, that the press is. You've got to go down the list and say, okay, I met with this Russian lawyer who said she might have some info, rattle it off, and put it all out in the open. Don't wait for the New York Times or Washington Post to break it. And the fact that they've what else are they sitting on? They need to get it out there if there's nothing to hide.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Barack Obama did so well, right? Dreams for My Father is chock full of fantastic Oppo material if an opposition researcher had actually dredged it up. Right. But instead what Obama did is he said, okay, here's all the crap that I've ever done, right? It was right here in the book. Right. And now what are you going to do? Right? Sure, I was doing crack back in high school. You know, I did a little blow. Big deal. You know, like if that had actually come out, remember, the DUI charge against George W. Bush, which came out a week before the election in 2000, really hurt him. Imagine if 4 years earlier he had said, yeah, back in the 70s I had a DUI charge. I've really gotten my life straight. Like, this is what you have to do in politics, is you have to take all of the things that you've done that are bad, and you have to be the first one out the gate with it and say, I've done my repentance, I've fulfilled my penance now, and everything is fine, or it wasn't that big a deal at the time. Like, you get to have a chance at the first spin when it's your sin. But the fact that Jared Kushner didn't report the meeting, the fact that Manafort didn't report the meeting, apparently, the fact that Don Jr. was saying for a long time there was no collusion whatsoever, and then this email comes out from him. Again, I do love the idea that Trump says he's the most transparent guy. It's like, dude, 8 minutes later, the New York Times story dropped. It wasn't like Donald Trump Jr. was like, you know what, I have to be fully transparent. I just have to be honest. I need to bring this out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It's like the New York Times called him, and they said, in 10 minutes we're dropping this story, and he rushes to his email, and he puts it all up on Twitter.
I actually get the sense that Donald Jr. is a decent guy. I don't think he's that bad of a guy. I don't
think he's a bad guy either. I just think he's a neophyte. I mean, I just think that he knows nothing about this process, and I think that if you are a person, I think that Donald Trump and his sons have a particular vision of what politics is because they haven't spent a lot of time in it until now, where they think that politics is legitimately the dirtiest business there is. And so when Trump says anyone would have done this, I think he really believes anyone would have done this. And so when Trump Jr. saw this sort of stuff, he probably figured, okay, Hillary's doing the same kind of stuff. Like, everyone is super dirty here. What's the big deal? I do it, you know, I'm a civilian, whatever. And it never occurs to him this is not something that you probably should be doing, especially since he was already connected with Rob Goldstone, right? I mean, they knew Goldstone for years. Right? They knew the people who they were talking to for years. So my guess is he probably didn't think it was that big a deal at the time. He figured if we can get some extra information, great. And he probably figured, you know, or at least it's possible he figured that even the line in the email about this is part of the Russian government's support for Mr. Trump, they just figured, okay, well, we've always been close with the Russians, and maybe that's just a selling point. Maybe that's just trying to sell us on doing the meeting in the first place. So I think that virtually this has been
Hold on.
rule
Take a breath.
So far.
Take a breath. Knockett Jared has to say something.
I wasn't going to say. I was going to say, you know, you got to get out there ahead of it. Like every dad kills JFK.
Yes.
Gotta get on top of this stuff.
I mean, imagine if Ted Cruz had come out right up front in the beginning of the campaign and he'd said, my father was involved in the murder of JFK. He would be president right now.
He would be.
I mean, this is just, this is
Bad
what you have
strategy.
to know. If he had said, my wife is ugly and my father killed the president of the United States, he would be the president of the United States right now. If Ted Cruz had only gone forward and done all of those
I've had
things.
a change of heart for my father.
You know, I do think that when it comes to the notion that Trump is doing this out of malice and not ignorance, this has always been my consistent rule with the Trump administration. Never attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity or ignorance. And that has always been a good rule. It has yet to fail me.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think in the grand scheme of things, we did a false sort of a timeline of false Russia stories this week. And there were so many to wade through. We said, okay, let's pick about the 5 major ones. Of course, the BuzzFeed, CNN pissing Russian prostitutes. That has to make it in there, of course. It's the funniest thing that we've ever heard in our lives after we knew that it was...
Until it turns out that they're about to break the actual tape and Trump goes on Twitter and he's like, I'm getting it out first. Boom. Pee.
Water sports. So, I was raised poor. I never had a Sea-Doo, okay? I think I do. This took a really bad turn. This won't make air. Of course it will. What was I saying before this? I was talking about Donald Trump.
It's all over, man. You got derailed by the P-tape.
Yeah, exactly.
As we all are.
I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying? Knockett Jared about this?
It's probably really important insight.
Oh, we were going through the false Russia timeline story. And there were so many, we just had to pick some that we were going, okay, these are the most egregious, right, offenses. I think if you're going to do that timeline, do a refresher on it, even 6 months from now, let alone a year, this one won't even be a blip on the radar. I think it's one of the biggest stretches from the left's, the media that we've seen. And I also don't think that it just so happens to coincide with one of the worst weeks for ratings, you know, in American television.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this one, it depends what happens next, right? I mean, if it turns out that there is no further collusion, no further contact, then it'll just be a point of contention and rage from the left, sort of like Benghazi was for us, and then the left ignored it, and the media ignored it, and it turned out that it just wasn't a great motivator. I think that could definitely be, even though there was more substance to Benghazi than there is to this.
Sure.
Those emails are really not good. I mean, the fact that it says directly in the email, Russian government lawyer and part of Russia's effort to help Mr. Trump, that is more substantive than the P-tape BuzzFeed crap. So it's not, like, it's hard to claim fake news when Trump Jr. dropped the emails himself.
Well, hold on a second. It is, but that doesn't mean Donald Trump, President Donald Trump.
I agree. No, you know I agree with this. I mean, of course I agree that it doesn't go directly to Trump, but it is true that the majority of people in the Trump administration have been saying for months that the Trump campaign, right, Trump himself said the Trump campaign had no contacts with the Russian government, and this does pose a problem for that. Now, is that enough for anybody to really go nuts over? I don't think so. I don't think it should be. I don't think that this is like reason for anyone to panic and set their hair on fire. But it's enough that the left is going to make itself totally crazy over it. They're going to say, oh, it was a smoking gun. He admitted it. It's out there. And now he should be impeached. But look, they were going to impeach him anyway if they win the House. So I'm not sure that it really changes material reality on the ground that very much.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't think that's the issue. I watch it and I go, oh, it's that and Justice for All with Al Pacino, that famous, how did you know there was one Ralph? It's like, now you're clearly giving away information you could have only known this way. It's such a screw up, but I also feel compelled to defend against the lies from the media where they take a kernel of truth. Therefore, Donald Trump is directly under investigation from the FBI because he colluded with Russia. It's like, now you lose us, and this is why they're losing their ratings. All right, we have to go. Ben Shapiro, where's the best place for people to find you?
Check us out at Daily Wire, where we have a magnificent etched tumbler. You may have seen it on such shows as Louder with Crowder. It is just fantastic. And you can get a subscription over at dailywire.com. Get a subscription to both CRTV and Daily Wire, and then you can tell your kids about it someday when Steve and I are both dead and legends.
Yeah, well, this is true, although Legendary will be your lie just now because you can't actually etch a tumbler. It's metal. It has to be a print. Ben Shapiro, we must go.